The S&P 500 under some pressure as we wind down this hour. Joining us for Under 30, we want to bring in George Tsilis, senior markets correspondent, to take a look at GRRR Technology shares soaring 40%, about $4 more. It won't be a qualifier for Under 30, George. Return to the black here. What's your takeaway from their latest quarterly numbers?
Well, I think first off, I think the technology is quite interesting. I mean, this is essentially an application software company, but they are basically in the AI, cybersecurity, and smart infrastructure space. They provide facial recognition technology and software. They help blend security systems within Internet of Things. In other words, compatible different devices, network security. And streaming video. They're also aggregating their AI technologies for smart cities, and that includes, traffic safety, public safety, and of course, theft management for property and casualty theft, and of course, criminal activity management from a criminal standpoint. So, in other words, the public infrastructure needs smart cities, and of course, artificial intelligence and facial recognition is really their backbone. But, this is a name that's performed exceptionally well over the last year. It's fallen quite a bit since the correction in February, but nonetheless, it's still higher by over 700% over the last year. The company's actually generating quite significant increases in sales. They did report sales, which were actually slightly lower than the estimates, $18.8 million. They were expecting around $19.5 million. But that was still about a 109% increase year over year, and they did report earnings per share for the quarter at 23 cents. And that's meaningful because if you look at all of last year, they only earned 32 cents for the full year. So they're almost earning last year's full EPS earnings per share in the last quarter, as well as the fact that the company is expected to continue to grow its sales. If you just annualize the quarterly numbers for this report, it's essentially close to 80 million. They're expecting to finalize the year at 100 million and next year at 130 million in terms of revenues, with essentially next year's earnings at $1 per share. So they're growing their sales quite substantially and the earnings per share as well. And it's only trading as a stock right now at around 18 times next year's earnings.
George, is the target customer municipalities, government, similar to how Palantir started, or is this a wider net that they can cast in terms of maybe going to big box retail, for example, to implement this technology?
Well, I think in the private sector, these are areas that they sell their technologies to, big box retailers, and of course their security systems integrating multiple different technologies. But I think the public sector is really key for GRRR Technologies. And it comes down to things like, public safety, public access, networks and systems, IoT monitoring, but also traffic management. I think traffic management is going to be key as part of autonomous driving. So you have to look at binding these two types of technologies together, but also public safety, like power plants, for instance. This also might tie into these modular nuclear companies like Oklo that will need essentially AI cybersecurity and AI security to help manage the security risks that nuclear, modular, and remote nuclear power will demand. So I think the industrial base is high. I think the public safety aspects of their business is really where it's at. They also have international business. They secured a very large contract with Thailand for providing their public safety infrastructure technology. So it's a growing company. And so I can see why the stock is higher by quite a large degree today after it's fallen significantly since the February levels. But nonetheless, it's still higher by over 700% over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's having this massive run today. And like I said, it is on its way to not being a candidate for Under 30, thanks to its strong outperformance, up more than 41% right now. Thank you, George. That's our George Tsilis, senior markets correspondent.